So we saw in the end Enzo Fernandez becoming that record fee, £107 million from Benfica to Chelsea. That took Chelsea spending in January, Cass, to what? Just over £323 million. Quite a staggering amount of money that's been spent.
And it's causing, and rightly so, a lot of conversations are going on. And you've got two of the leading managers of Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola speaking yesterday about him walking on eggshells in some ways because, saying, I might need my lawyer.
Well, should we hear? Why don't we hear from Jurgen Klopp, actually? Because you're quite right. He has given his reaction to that record spending spree by Chelsea.
I say nothing without my lawyer. No, it's a joke. No, God. Obviously, I don't know. I don't understand this part of the business. Like, what can you do? What can you not do? How much? It's a big number. In the last two windows, obviously, okay, I can. The players they brought in, I didn't think once, why did I do that? They're all good players, really good players. So from that point of view, congratulations. When you can do it, then obviously they do it. But I don't understand it. But how it's possible with all the things around. But it's obviously not about me to explain how it works. Hopefully you all know exactly how it works, and then it's fine.
He's not the only one, Cass, who's questioning Chelsea spending. I was reading about a fan who set up a petition asking UEFA to investigate Chelsea's financial situation in the fact that they've spent so much money. But of course, Chelsea will argue they've done it legitimately because of these long deals they've done, 8 years, some of these contracts, which means that, yes, 108 million or whatever it is that's been spent on Enzo Fernandez will be spread over that period, hence why they can get away with it FFP-wise. Although there is a suggestion that FIFA, UEFA are looking into changing that because they're realising maybe there's a little loophole that's being exploited here that isn't quite right. But anyway, that's for another time. As things stand, Chelsea are doing everything correctly, just spending a heck of a lot of money doing it. But the funny thing about it is not only do we have the players coming in, Cass, there were the players going out. And Hakim Ziyech, it looked as though he was heading to PSG. That one fell through. PSG not happy with Chelsea, thinking that Chelsea have not quite done the right thing in terms of the paperwork, as in not getting it all done in time. So we're looking at Ziyech. We're all thinking, that's it. His career at Chelsea's done and dusted. And then last night, he rocks up at Stamford Bridge, is in the starting 11, plays for Graham Potter in that draw against Fulham, and is also now in the Champions League squad for Chelsea. What is all that about?
I don't get it. I mean, if you have been in a proposed move to another club and it hasn't come through, the last thing you'd expect is to be in the starting lineup on the Friday night. I just didn't, when I saw the lineup, I was like, really? Yeah. So why has Graham Potter selected him if he was supposedly going to be sent out on loan to the end of the season? I don't. There's some weird things going on at Chelsea. It doesn't make sense in many shapes and forms. I look at the club. I mean, Champions League. Aubameyang is not in the Champions League squad either. They bought him. If you go back from the very start of the Todd Boehly era, that they bought Aubameyang, and then a week later, Tuchel was gone. Yeah. Who obviously would have had some involvement, I'm sure, in bringing Aubameyang. And it's really weird what's happening at the football club of their spending and how certain players, you feel like their career's finished there and then they're back in.
I mean, it's not only just Aubameyang that's missed out, obviously, in that Champions League squad. You can look at the other new signing who actually played last night as well, Benoit Badiashile. He's also not made it into that Champions League squad. And
he was terrific last night as well, wasn't he?
Very good alongside Thiago Silva. The funny thing is, that is the issue you have, Cass, isn't there? When you end up sort of stockpiling players, which it kind of feels like it is at Chelsea, you're going to have a lot of players that are missing out on some of these big tournaments, and ideally most of these players want to be playing at the top level and in the biggest competition. Yeah,
you're probably going to have 10 Winston Bogarts. People remember him, who sat on a contract for 4 years and didn't really want to play football and go back to the Netherlands and come back in, but didn't really have any interest to play. And you might have a few of them at your football club, because if you stockpile to that level, there has to be a consequence of that, because a lot of players are not playing. And if they are, they're just... Or they're not playing for the first 11 because you just have so much choice. And a manager has to have some consistency in the side he picks. Can't be just willy-nilly and just pull one in and, 10 go that way and then, off with the younger players or go and train on their own, then they come back with the first team. I honestly, Nat, some of the things that have happened in the last year or so just don't make sense. And I find it very difficult to... It doesn't do... From the days of football where I played in the 80s and 90s and saw how the game evolved, and now we've got to a stage where we've seen Nottingham Forest buy nearly 30 players, and don't get me wrong, Steve Cooper's handled it way better than Graham Potter, in my opinion. I think Steve Cooper has to really take credit for how he's integrated and put a side together, and from a side that's got certainly better over the course of the season so far.
Yeah,
which Potter's team haven't been.
Well, Graham Potter and his Chelsea side are very inconsistent, aren't they? It's not quite working out. We could obviously bring in the injury issue. So he's never had his fully fit squad available to him. They are starting to come back. We saw Reece James, Ben Chilwell, for example, getting involved. So there is a bit of glimmer of hope for Chelsea in that respect.